Welcome back. Barack Obama's huge popularity is partly due to the Republicans. They've got no apparent leader out there to challenge him next time. Will they tack back and go with their true believers or go centrist? Back in Ronald Reagan's formative years, he was playing to the values wing of the GOP.
I probably did more soul searching and more study than I've ever done on anything in my life. And I have come to the conclusion that the interrupting of a pregnancy is the taking of a human life.
But Ronald Reagan didn't get traction that way with those values issues. So in 1980, he came back as the guy who could take charge of the economy, running against Jimmy Carter.
We're taxing ourselves into economic exhaustion and stagnation, crushing our ability and incentive to save, invest, and produce. This must stop. We must halt this fiscal self-destruction and restore sanity to our economic system.
Well, there's no Ronald Reagan on the horizon, but this time around, Mitt Romney's the guy who looks most likely to be the one who will try to run as the big economic manager.
I look at President Obama's budget, and I look at what he's thinking about for the future of that budget, the new programs he wants to add, and I call it flying Walenda economics. He would take us on a tightrope, which the prospects of getting across safely are extremely remote.
Well, is that the Gipper? Come back, Dan? I don't know if he's got it. What do you think?
Well, with all respect, you have to question the use of the flying Walendas. It's a pretty, they used to train in my neighborhood in Houston Heights, but it's been 30 or 40 or 50 years ago.
I had no idea what it meant. Dan just had to explain that to me.
Old Trapeze Act. But
that's his
having
way of
said
connecting
all that,
with you.
I would not underestimate Mitt Romney. This guy is a manager. He is an organizer. Right. I'm not predicting he's going to get the nomination next time, but I think it would be a mistake to underestimate him.
Well, Caddy, the whole trick in politics is to find substance, which goes with personality. Get them both together.
Well, substance which goes with personality, but also at the right time. Yeah. And, of course, it'll depend on how the economy is doing.
What do you think the Republicans will do next time? Go with their gut or try to fine-tune a centrist?
You know, it's interesting because when you said that, I'm thinking of John McCain. What did they go with John McCain?
He was a moderate.
He was a moderate. He was the last man standing.
Like Jerry Ford, like Bob Dole, like a lot of those guys.
Yeah, and I think they don't know right now. I think they're asking the questions we're all asking.
Whose turn is it?
Whose turn is it? Well, is it Newt Gingrich's turn? Suddenly...
Well, I shouldn't laugh because anything's possible.
Suddenly we're all talking about Newt Gingrich
what
rising.
What we should be talking about is not whose turn is it, but whose idea is it?
Well, this is the core thing. Your question, Chris, is whether they go back to what they believe in. I think the problem right now for the Republican Party is they don't know what they believe in. And to play the Reagan clip from before is really instructive. There's a big part of the party that thinks that they need to go back to Reagan. And there's this other part of the party that thinks they need a more modern, a new kind of
Which Reagan, though? The smart economic manager who said, I'll cut taxes and get the economy moving again? Yes. Or the guy who talked about abortion rights and those issues which tend to cause controversy?
Well, I think some people in the Republican Party would say both, that combination of ideological anti-tax small government combined with social conservatism is still the route forward for the party. And there are others who say we need a more modern view of the world.
It doesn't work anymore. Tax and spend, we've heard that for what, 20 years? That's kind of old.
And
they
in
need
this particular economic crisis, it's very hard to find an economist who says you don't have to, the government has to be spending right now. And so the argument against cutting spending and cutting taxes at this particular time isn't an argument that has much traction.
Dan, you're suggesting if the Republicans just bet on failure, if they just assume Barack Obama is going to be a bollocks, that something's going to go really wrong between now and the next election, bring in somebody who seems simply credible, a could-be president type, like Romney, and bet on him.
Well, or Newt Gingrich. I know that's going to get some laughter around because he's considered yesterday's man in the Republican Party. But this we know about Newt Gingrich. Whether you like him or not like him, he is an ideas person with a good sense of history. And again, I wouldn't rule it out if the Republicans are looking for saying, look, what we need is just somebody that can be fairly steady in case things go down and we have a real opportunity the next time around. And Gingrich will have the ideas to hold what's left of the Republican
What about the
together.
dramatis personae we've been introduced to over the past year or so? Sarah Palin, Bobby Jindal. Are these people going to be up to or Huckabee, Mike Huckabee, are they up to the level of a presidential campaign? What's your sense?
Well, Huckabee certainly was. Yeah. Huckabee surprised all of us, I think, during the Republican primaries by doing quite well, connecting with people.
The problem with the argument about the kind of boring economic manager type is that they're going to be up against Barack Obama, who is this hugely popular,
but he's going to have a
very good communicator. And so you've got to actually have somebody that can manage in debates and in town hall meetings and on the campaign trail to have some sort of connection with that.
Will they find the big dog to run against Barack Obama?
I don't see it at the moment.
If the economy doesn't come around at least a little, they might find the, quote, as you call it, big dog. Otherwise, they're probably facing what the Republicans faced in 1936.
I think they will, and I think it'll be somebody, as we were talking about before, who taps into the populism out there.
Give me a candidate. You're a pro. Give me a pro. Who is it?
If the economy doesn't do very well.
Who could put it together, the social and the economic?
Well, there's a possibility for Newt because he's got ideas. He has 20 ideas. 3 of them might be good, but he's a man of ideas. Right now, I don't see Romney as being that person because of his performance last time.
Newt Gingrich, man of the people. I just think of him as not the most populist candidate. Look, Barack Obama is very likely going to have $1 billion by the time he runs in 2012. Any Republican who is a serious person, who seriously thinks he's going to eventually be president one day, would be out of his mind to take on Obama unless we are in the middle of Great Depression 3. I don't mean that as an advice.
Yeah, I think it's
it's very daunting, and there are a lot of good Republican candidates who are going to look at that and say, I'm just going to wait till 2016.
I think it's a great time for debuts. I think John Hunt's been out in Utah as a guy. We're going to look at Charlie Crist. We're all going to look at. These guys are all comers.
What about an independent candidate?
No, I think John's right.
Who knows?
I think, they've got to remember they're up against Obama, and that's a daunting task.
Okay, I'm sure we've overlooked the person who's going to do it. We'll be right back.